बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम, अस्सलामुअलैकुम। देसी टीवी यूएसए के साथ मैं हूं ताबिंदा गुल। आइए डालते हैं अब तक की खुसूसी रिपोर्ट पर। नाजरीन, 30 जुलाई 2025 की शाम ह्यूस्टन टेक्सास के मार्की इवेंट सेंटर में पाकिस्तान बिजनेस फोरम यूएसए की जानिब से एक शानदार और बसीरत अफरोज़ तकरीब का इनेकाद किया गया। तकरीब के मेहमान खुसूसी पाकिस्तान के साबिक वज़ीर ख़जाना और मुमताज़ माहिर मईशत डॉक्टर अब्दुल हफीज़ शेख थे, जिन्होंने मुकामी कम्युनिटी, प्रोफेशनल्स, कारोबारी शख्सियात, तुलबा और दीगर मुअज़्ज़ज़ मेहमानों से खिताब किया। तकरीब का आगाज़ सूरह रहमान की खूबसूरत तिलावत कलाम पाक से हुआ, जिसने महफिल को रूहानी और पुरसुकून बना दिया। तकरीब की मेज़बानी फ़राह अहमद ने नहायत एतमाद और खुशलूबी से की। नाज़रीन, डॉक्टर अब्दुल हफीज़ शेख ने अपने कलीदी खिताब पाकिस्तानी मईशत, सबक और इम्कानात में पाकिस्तान को दरपेश मुआसी चैलेंजेस और मौक़े पर मुदल्लिल और आदाद शुमार पर मबनी गुफ्तगू की। उन्होंने मुअस्सर गवर्नेंस, मजबूत इदारों और दूर अंदेश पॉलिसियों पर जोर देते हुए कहा कि अगर पाकिस्तान माजी से सीखे, शफाफियत को अपनाए और इस्लाहात पर संजीदगी से अमल करे तो रोशन मुस्तकबिल मुमकिन है। तकरीब की एक ख़ास बात डॉक्टर जावेद अशरफ की मौजूदगी थी, जो पाकिस्तान बिजनेस फोरम यूएसए के सदर हैं और डॉक्टर अब्दुल हफीज़ शेख के बॉस्टन यूनिवर्सिटी के दरीना साथी भी हैं। उन्होंने डॉक्टर शेख की दयानतदारी, अवामी खिदमत और मुआशी तरक्की के लिए खिदमात को खराज तहसीन पेश किया। पाकिस्तान बिजनेस फोरम यूएसए की जानिब से माजी में भी मुमताज़ ब्यूरोक्रेट्स, सियासतदानों, जजेस और दानिश्वरों को मदऊ किया जा चुका है, जिनमें जावेद जब्बार, प्रोफेसर परवेज़ हूद भाई और साबिक चीफ जस्टिस लतीफ़ खोसा शामिल हैं। इस मौके पर मुमताज़ पाकिस्तानी ओरिजिन अमरीकी शख्सियात भी शरीक हुई, जिनमें महफूजुर रहमान, शाहिद हाशमी और उनकी अहलिया, डॉक्टर आसिफ कदीर और उनकी अहलिया, डॉक्टर शबनम लुत्फ़ अली और उनके शौहर, रियाज सिद्दीकी, वाहिद लाला, जाहिद बाबर, ह्यूस्टन में पाकिस्तान के कौंसल जनरल मोहम्मद आफ्ताब चौधरी, डॉक्टर बरकत चेरानिया, जज सोनिया रैश, डॉक्टर जावेद लगारी, सलमान रज़ाकी, डॉक्टर मुबशिर चौधरी, सिराज नारसी और दीगर कारोबारी व समाजी शख्सियात भी शामिल थीं। नाजरीन, तकरीब के कामयाब इनेकाद में पाकिस्तान बिजनेस फोरम यूएसए के डायरेक्टर जाहिद बट, अकरम आराइन, पीजे सवाती और महनाज जैदी ने भी कलीदी किरदार अदा किया। डॉक्टर अब्दुल हफीज़ शेख के खिताब के बाद सवाल और जवाब का सेशन हुआ, जिसमें शुरका ने पाकिस्तान की मईशत, माली नज़्म ज़ब्त और आलमी इक़्तिसादी ताल्लुकात के बारे में संजीदा सवालात किए, जबकि डॉक्टर अब्दुल हफीज़ शेख ने हर सवाल का मुदल्लिल और अहम फहम जवाब देकर इस महफिल को एक इल्मी व तालीमी नशिस्त में बदल दिया। तमाम मेहमानों की तवाज़ो टेम्पुरा रेस्टोरेंट के लजीज खानों से की गई, जिसने पाकिस्तानी मेहमान नवाजी की झलक दिखाई। तकरीब का इख्तिताम शुक्रिया और पाकिस्तान बिजनेस फोरम यूएसए की टीम के विजन को सराहते हुए हुआ। डॉक्टर जावेद अशरफ की क़यादत और उनकी टीम, वाहिद लाला, अफशी भिमानी और महनाज जैदी की मेहनत से ये शाम एक मिसाल बन गई और ओवरसीज़ पाकिस्तानी पाकिस्तान के रोशन मुस्तकबिल के लिए एक मौसर किरदार भी अदा कर सकते हैं। तो आइए डॉक्टर अब्दुल हफीज़ शेख की इस शानदार प्रेजेंटेशंस को गौर से देखें और सुने, जो न सिर्फ पाकिस्तान बल्कि दुनिया भर के पाकिस्तानियों के लिए एक रहनुमाई का जरिया है।
Make sure that we also acknowledge some of the dignitaries that we have here today. Of course, we have our Consulate General, Mr. Chaudhry, here. Thank you and welcome. Round of applause. We also have Sonia Rash, Judge, Justice of the Peace, Fort Bend County, Precinct 3. Please stand. She's on the ballot, so do remember her name. We also have a lot of other notables that are Pakistani Americans that are elected, but they regretfully could not be here. We have Alicia Khani, who's our elected constable for Precinct 3. We have Judge Rabia Collier from Harris County. And we also have Afshi Charania, who is elected for Fort Bend ISD trustee. I'm sure they wish they could be here, but they do have other events and conflicts. So we hope to get them back at the next event. So something unusual, now you have a guest speaker, and I know Dr. Ashraf is going to really introduce him in his own way, but there's some things about him that I thought it was important to read out. So you're going to hear a little bit more in depth about our guest speaker, Dr. Abdul Hafeez Sheikh. Dr. Sheikh is an economist with international experience in policy making management. He has worked and advised in countries in Europe, South America, and Asia. He has served twice as the finance minister of Pakistan in 2010 to 2013, and then again 2019 to 21. He has also, at various times, held the portfolios of Minister of Economic Affairs, Revenue, Planning and Development, Statistics, Privatization, and Investment. Now, under his leadership, Pakistan completed its highly successful privatization program in 2003 to 2006, covering telecommunications, electricity, banking, oil refining, manufacturing, and other sectors over $5 billion. He has thrice been elected to the Senate of Pakistan. Dr. Sheikh was a Minister for Finance and Development in Sindh, province of Pakistan from 2000 to 2003, reforming and finances of the province. And he led the province to be one of the first sub-national governments to develop a program with the World Bank. His work experience includes Harvard University, the World Bank, and private equity. He has advised governments of Malaysia, Philippines, Romania, Saudi Arabia, Sri Lanka, Ghana, Indonesia, Thailand, Libya, Vietnam, Czech Republic, Kuwait, Argentina, Bangladesh, Tanzania, Jordan, Qatar, Malta, and Botswana. I'm trying to remember what country is not consulted in, and Pakistan, of course. Dr. Sheikh has a PhD in economics from Boston University and an author of many publications, including a book on Argentina. I did mention to him that I did a little chat GTP on his background, and there's some unknown facts about him that I think were very interesting. But I thought the most interesting one is something that I think we all believe as Pakistani Americans, and we live in this country and we understand the value of education and working hard and doing good work. One of the things he always wanted to emphasize was meritocracy, that everybody in government and in the private sector should be judged on their merit of their skills and nothing else. And that's the future of the success of any country. So thank you all for bearing with us with this lovely background of our guest speaker. I want to make sure, absolutely, I think
we are honored that you are here gracing this occasion. My voice is a little hoarse because we engaged a very long talk yesterday, 2 hours discussion on a dinner, and followed by a hour-long postcard, and then Jinnah Library, where he was gracious to speak again. And he used one word, "Aapne mera sara juice nikali." I think tonight the public, when is going to ask you questions, I think you will find that the juice reh gaya, wo bhi nikal aayega. I also want to, Honorable Consul General Aftab Chaudhry Sahab is here, gracing this occasion, and no function in Houston can be conducted without his presence. We are honored that you are here. And of course, our President Javed Ashraf Sahab. What a beautiful soul he has. Ever since he has come to Houston, we get people like Hafiz Sheikh, and a dream for a nation where Muslims can live with freedom, dignity, and justice, where their identity, culture, and values could be valued and flourish. It was a dream built on unity, faith, and discipline. The pillars Quaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah gave us to build our nation. But today, we ask ourselves, honestly, have we truly fulfilled that dream? Are we carrying the dream forward? Or we have lost the spirit somewhere along the way? We are a nation blessed with talent, resources, and rich in heritage, yet we remind ourselves again and again that we are divided politically and socially. we are not divided in our thinking at least. Our greatest need today
break for moderate prayers. And so I would urge that you stay seated until the announcement is made. And we will have a question and answer session after moderate prayers. And it is going to be a legitimate, proper question and answer session. In fact, the Honorable Finance Minister is urging people to ask difficult questions. So I think this will be something that we have not seen before. Now, Farah has already talked about all the professional accomplishments and I am going to refrain from addressing him as the Honorable Finance Minister. He always has been for me and always will be just plain Hafiz, my very, very good friend for 48 years. And it was in January 1977 that USAID had sent me for a master's program to Boston University. And they put me up in a motel, I think, called Howard Johnson. And I think in the second evening there was a knock at my door, and there stood a young man with a captivating smile and curly hair, and he introduced himself. I'm Hafiz. That was 48 years ago. At Boston University, Hafiz was my very best friend. Our friendship has continued all of these years. And he has done for me something which no one else on this planet has done. I owe my career to Hafiz, which I will talk about very briefly. Some 20 years after those days at Boston University, I applied for and went to Karachi to be interviewed by the governor of Sindh at that time, Air Marshal Daud Boda, for the directorship of IBA. And after the interview, the governor offered me the position, and he said, I am entrusting you with one of the crown jewels of universities in Pakistan. It should have been a delightful moment, but the delight was very short-lived. After my interview, I came back to the United States for a couple of months to wrap up the semester that I've been teaching. And I got word that there were strong attempts to remove me from a position to which I had been appointed. And I talked to some that I knew, powerful people. I spoke to the then finance minister, who later became prime minister, and he did not do a thing. And I talked to the then governor of the State Bank of Pakistan. No movement from his side either. And then an act of providence. Just a month earlier, Air Marshal Daud Boda had been replaced by new governor, Mr. Mohammad Mia Sumro. And he appointed Hafiz as the finance minister of Sindh. I went to see Hafiz at the governor's house where he was staying, and as Hafiz talked about earlier today, he was in a room adjacent to Quaid-e-Azam's study. In any case, Hafiz didn't take a moment to respond. He immediately pulled the highest levels of government, did everything that had to be done, and I got to keep my position. And it was only because I had been director of IBA that I later assumed the vice chancellorship of Quaid-e-Azam University. I owe my career to the gentleman who sits in front of me at this time. few words about those days at Boston University almost 50 years ago. There were perhaps 8 or 10 Pakistani students in the economics department. And I think it was the most illustrious cohort of Pakistani studies at any university in the United States. Out of those 8 or 10 students, 3 of them went on to get cabinet positions in Pakistan. One of them, and there in fact are a number of alumni from Karachi University who know him, Waqar Masood. I think there are several people here who know him. The longest serving federal secretary in Pakistan, was also appointed special assistant to the Prime Minister with the status of Minister of State. Someone who did even better than him, and someone who has actually stood on the stage. We invited him here, Dr. Ishrat Hussain, 12 years my senior, but also my class fellow at Boston University. Served as governor of the State Bank of Pakistan and as advisor to General Pervez Musharraf and to Imran Khan. But the top of the heap was none other than Hafiz. In fact, in what Farah just read out, she said he was a 2-time finance minister, and she talked about him having been finance minister of Sindh. What was left out was prior to becoming finance minister and under General Pervez Musharraf, he had been Minister for Privatization and Investment, a 4-time minister over 25 years. There's a reason they call him Evergreen. He has been around for 25 years in the highest positions of government, continues to be highly respected and one of the most recognizable faces in Pakistan. When I look at the accomplishments of my cohorts at Boston University, 3 of them having held cabinet positions, I am the laggard in that group. I only managed to become a vice chancellor. We have people with much higher accomplishments. I would also like to point out something which Hafiz is way too modest to ever say about himself. 3 times, no less than 3 times, he was on the very, very short list to become Prime Minister of Pakistan in the interim governments. In fact, the last time around, it appeared to be a virtual certainty, and I had already drafted my letter of congratulations to send to him. But the morning after came the very unexpected news that a completely unknown individual from Balochistan, Anwar ul-Haq Kakar, had become the interim Prime Minister. I was quite distressed, but in any case, whenever there is talk in Pakistan, amidst all of the political turmoil, of creating a government of technocrats, Hafiz's name is always at the top of that list as the premier. So it is that I introduce to you one of my very best friends, a brilliant economist, and inshallah one day a Prime Minister of Pakistan, Dr. Abdul Hafiz Sheikh.
To invite Manaz and Afshin to also come here. They're on the board of directors. Before we go further, I thought it'd be right for me to ask the board of directors for Pakistan Business Forum to please stand up so you can be recognized. Thank you all for doing this event. Give them a big hand. Thank you all. Absolutely, they will. I also wanted to mention that when we listed the Pakistani Americans that were elected, we wanted to make sure that we added Dr. Lalani, who is a state rep, and he is also on the ballot next year. And we hope that he'll be here. I think he has another event, it will be here shortly, so thank you for that. Dr. Sheikh, please come on stage. So usually, before a speaker speaks, actually it's unusual, but we're going to give him the gift now, so that we can all seamlessly move into the question and answer session after his remarks. It's very Texan. Absolutely.
So it's a very, very, it's an honor for you to be amongst us, coming from long distance. I know you came here as a Pakistani. I don't know where you are. Where are you? Okay. So I know you came here as a Pakistani, but you're going to leave as a Texan, and this is actually a tradition for us. We give everyone that comes to visit us a hat. That makes you a Texan. No, you're good. You're good. There you go. Hopefully you like us.
बाल खड़ा हुआ
of the business community, Houston residents, Assalamu alaikum. It's really a pleasure for me to come here, and the warmth, the hospitality, and the welcome I have received has really overwhelmed me. Of course, there are people here who I have known for many years. Above all, Dr. Javed Ashraf and his wife, Regis. We go a long way, and I think a lot of what he said about me should be dismissed as the biased views of a friend. He's, of course, a remarkable person, a man of great achievement and modesty. And I'm really fortunate to have them as friends. And I look forward to preserving and cherishing this friendship. I also have other people, Mr. Nahuz Mustafa, who is here. Stand up so people can see you. We are all family friends. From a distinguished family in Pakistan, the Bhuttos, and he's also a man of real achievement. So he and his wife also are good friends. And one of the reasons I came actually was not to give the talk, but to find the opportunity to see him and go see a couple of museums here. But the way Dr. Kadir has been making me work, I think I will probably end up doing nothing else. Also, Dr. Javed Lagari is here, and he and his wife also I have known. And you know, since coming here, I met some remarkable people. Above all, Dr. Kadir Sahab, he's a person who has achieved a lot, but remains also a person who cares tremendously about his country, about preserving and cherishing the memory of the founder of the nation, and doing whatever he can, both for his country as well as its citizens. So really it has been a pleasure for me to begin a relationship and a friendship that inshallah will go on and on. I want to now turn towards the topic. Obviously, we Pakistanis love to talk about Pakistan. Not always in the best way. But since we are here, what do I mean by grown? I mean कि कम से कम 6 से 7% per year growth. Have we ever achieved it? Yes. So that's a good sign. That means we are capable of achieving it. Have we sustained it? The answer is no. Ever? Never. So this is what I'm showing you here. Okay, we had few episodes of high growth between 2003 to 2006, 80 to 84, 63 to 65. And it's interesting that they are all three under military rulers. And they're all three because of wars. And I will come to this issue. Why are they tied to wars? The Cold War, the Soviet-Afghan War, the so-called terrorist war. And why do they coincide with the fact that when the wars end, this trend also ends? So this is one thing I want you to remember. Okay, we have never sustained growth over a period more than 3 years. Now let's look at another big fact about Pakistan. Okay, we are largely unconnected to the global economy. और ये चीज मैं आपको समझाना चाह रहा हूं कि eventually we will discover कि nobody has done it alone. So Pakistan is virtually, globally, totally unconnected. And if you see, we have never had a foreign investment, ever. जब से पाकिस्तान का वजूद बना है, we have never, maybe for 1 year or 2, we may have had more than 2 billion, but otherwise never. And similarly, we have never been able to sell our products to the rest of the world, ever. तो अगर ना हम किसी को जाने माइल कर सकेंगे, न किसी को कोई चीज बेच सकेंगे, तो how are we going to become prosperous? So these are the big facts about Pakistan's personality. And the interesting thing is, this is unconnected to who is ruling Pakistan. Whether it's military, civilian, NP, whatever. What I'm trying to tell you are the basic features of Pakistan that are not connected to a specific government or a specific party or the nature of the regime. These are big facts about Pakistan, irrespective. Third, we have unsettled politics. No prime minister has ever completed his or her term. Never ever. And the longest serving single term prime minister remains the first, Prime Minister Liaquat Ali Khan. And he also, as you know. So the average span is less than 3 years. There have been military takeovers and political changes have been costly. किसी को हटाना है तो स्ट्रीट्स में आओ, जलाओ, चीजें जो है नुकसान पहुंचाओ, कोई इकोनॉमिक गेन हुई है तो उसको रिवर्स कर दो. And so when we talk, okay, we need predictability of policies. We need to, give a sustained message to international markets. You can see how formidable a task it is. When this is a major big fact about Pakistan. Let's go to the next. Here's another big fact about Pakistan. It's always at war. Either it's preparing for one, fighting one, or recovering from one. And I've listed some of the wars. And what they do is they create negative perception in the world. They make the neighborhood difficult. And they create domestic security problems that are ongoing, and they deter others from coming and doing business with you. Yes, we live in a difficult neighborhood. Yes, the wars are imposed upon us, but it seems like we are a player in wars that are not even in the neighborhood. And wars are costly. So I want you to leave with this big fact about Pakistan. Fact about Pakistan that I want you to absorb, because this is a feature of Pakistan that fundamentally creates inefficiencies, low productivity, and excessive cost for the economy. कि हर सेक्टर में गवर्नमेंट घुसी हुई है. And what I'm saying is whether they make the policy, they make the regulations, they own the sector, and they manage it. And you can see the sectors. Look at all the sectors that the government is running. And if you think these are a lot, let me show you another table here. Look at that. This is the second table. And if you think this is a lot, let me show you another table. You can see how much work I have done for you people. To really convince you. Because I knew Dr. Kadir is a tough taskmaster. And look, if you think this is enough, let me show you another table. Just I picked one sector, okay? Fisheries sector. कि इसको कितनी गवर्नमेंट एजेंसीज जो हैं वो इन्वॉल्व हैं इसको चलाने में. And you can see at the national level, these are the government agencies involved. And if you think these are a lot, let me show you. Here. Then these are the local and provincial agencies also involved in the fisheries sector. And if you think this is a lot, let me show you another table. Here. And you know, let me show you a final net result of this. तो पाकिस्तान की जो शख्सियत है उसको तो पहले हमें फिगर आउट करना चाहिए और फिर उसके बाद we can begin to craft solutions. अगर 30 एजेंसीज इन्वॉल्व हैं एक सेक्टर को मैनेज करने में और नेट रिजल्ट ये है और लोग कहते हैं जी आगे के लिए बताएं क्या करना है, आपने कोई इंटरेस्टिंग बात नहीं बताई, तो मैंने सोचा आपको इंटरेस्टिंग बातें बताऊं. ये और कोई नहीं दिखाएगा इस तरह की स्लाइड्स. लेकिन जब मैं फाइनेंस और प्लानिंग मिनिस्टर था तो मेरे एडिशनल चीफ सेक्रेटरी हर प्रोविंस में होते हैं who manages the development program. तो whenever I would have a meeting तो ये एडिशनल चीफ सेक्रेटरी साहब जब भी आते थे मुझे ऐसे जैसे परेशान से लगते थे और वो हमेशा कहते थे मैं सही एक और मीटिंग से आ रहा. मैंने एक दिन कहा कि भाई ये तुम क्या मीटिंग्स करते रहते हो सारा दिन, कि मिनिस्टर की मीटिंग है उसमें भी तुम दूसरी मीटिंग. तो मैंने कहा मुझे लिस्ट बना के दो कि तुम कितनी कमिटीज के चेयरमैन हो. तो वो जो था 150 कमिटीज का चेयरमैन था. 24 इंस्पेक्टर सिंध गवर्नमेंट के जाते थे एक फैक्ट्री के पास विद इन अ ईयर। तो उनको मैंने खत्म करके 4 बनाए कि 24 की बजाय 4 जाएं और एक ही दिन जाएं चारों मिल के साथ। Have those things been sustained? Probably not. प्रीमियर बन गए तो उनकी जो काबीना थी उसमें 2 और वजीर थे। The first premier of Sindh had a cabinet of 3 people, including himself. At the peak of the bureaucratic era in Pakistan, when General Ayub, then Field Marshal Ayub, was heading a very big bureaucracy, तो 10 या 11 फेडरल सेक्रेटरीज होते थे। अब सिंध गवर्नमेंट के अंदर या फेडरल गवर्नमेंट में इतने वजीर होते हैं कि प्राइम मिनिस्टर को उनके नाम पता नहीं होते। So what I'm saying is that this is another aspect of Pakistan's personality, a big fact of Pakistan, excessive, very costly bureaucracy, intervention, a number of proliferation of agencies and institutes and so on. So now, I want to turn के जी क्या करना चाहिए, किस तरह से आगे बढ़ने का कोई तरीका तो होना चाहिए। So what I want to do is look at our own experience, that I gave you a background, and also look at international experience, कि और लोग कैसे आगे बढ़ गए, उन्होंने क्या किया जो हम नहीं कर पा रहे हैं। देखिए सिंगापुर में अभी लोग यहाँ मौजूद हैं कि लोग जाते थे सिंगापुर में कि वहाँ ड्यूटी फ्री शॉप में कैमरा मिलता है सस्ता, क्या वहाँ टेलर होते हैं जो 24 घंटे में सूट बना के देते हैं।
That's right.
I remember it, those days. मैं जब एक वक्त में हार्वर्ड में था 1990 में, तो मुझे वर्ल्ड बैंक ने इनवाइट किया कि आप वियतनाम जाएं और उनकी काबीना के पास स्पीच करें कि मार्केट इकोनॉमी कैसे चलती है, क्योंकि वो कम्युनिज्म में रहे हैं, उनको पता नहीं है। तो मैं जब हनोई पहुंचा तो आई कुड नॉट फाइंड ए सिंगल कार इन द एंटायर कैपिटल ऑफ वियतनाम, and nor was there a single hotel. और मैं किस तरह ये पुराना फ्रेंच रेस्ट हाउस था वहां जाके ठहरे। अब पाकिस्तान की जो एक्सपोर्ट्स हैं वो $30 बिलियन हैं साल की, और वियतनाम की जो हैं वो $400 बिलियन हैं। तो ये तो अभी हमारे मतलब आंखों देखी बात है ना। इसी तरह चाइना जब 30-40 साल कम्युनिस्ट दौर में रहा तो वहां लोग बाइसिकलों पे चला करते थे, और उनकी जो जीडीपी थी हमारे जितनी ही थी। Then they changed course and they took 700 million people out of poverty within 25 years. और अभी मैंने आपको दिखाया कि उनकी जीडीपी जो है $20 ट्रिलियन हो चुकी है। इसी तरह से आयरलैंड हमारी आंखों के सामने, उनकी पर कैपिटल जीडीपी आपको मैंने दिखाई, तकरीबन 90 से 1000 से $1 लाख पर पर्सन। So these are potential signs of hope for us, that if Ireland can do it, and Vietnam can do it, and even other countries in Africa can do it, that we can. But we should try to learn, okay, what is it that they are doing to get ahead? So let's look. ये मैंने पाकिस्तान की केसेस दिए हैं क्योंकि हम हमेशा ये समझते हैं कि शायद पाकिस्तान में कैपेसिटी नहीं है कुछ भी करने की, which is obviously not true. Because ये कमरा भरा हुआ है पाकिस्तानी से कि जो कुछ करके दिखा रहे हैं, और ऐसे लाखों कमरे हैं जहां पे लोग पाकिस्तानी मौजूद हैं जो अगर उनको इंसेंटिव्स करेक्टली मिले और स्किल सेट करेक्टली मिले तो दे कैन आउटशाइन एनीबॉडी. So I'm just putting here some of the sectors. जिसमें टेलीकॉम है, बैंकिंग है, मीडिया है, where we are seeing कि जब रेगुलेटरी रिजीम को बेहतर किया गया, एंट्री पॉसिबल की गई, कंपटीशन अलाउ की गई, that we saw the results. And not just private sector participation, but also government. Pakistan did a really good job of managing the COVID crisis. We were able to, develop good instruments for loan deferment, for support to the private sector, for developing. And Pakistan has developed a very good cash transfer mechanism for social safety. और हर गवर्नमेंट इसको अडॉप्ट करती है, एंड इसमें मॉडर्न टेक्नोलॉजी का यूज होता है, एंड वी आर एबल टू सक्सेसफुली इम्प्लीमेंट दैट. एंड नॉट जस्ट a government for purely government activity, but also there are other areas where money is available from the private sector. If you want to build a toll road, you can take money from the private sector and they can recover it through tolls later on. If you want to build municipal water systems, you can have private sector that is willing to participate. Even private sector has built airports in Pakistan. So what I'm saying is that there are a lot of areas where there's an abundance of capital that is available. अगर डॉक्टर कदीर साहब या चरानिया साहब लोगों को कराची से मुल्तान या मुल्तान से सखर ले जाने के लिए जहाज चला सकते हैं, बस चला सकते हैं, तो गवर्नमेंट सेक्रेटरी क्यों चला रहे हैं? When you cannot fulfill your own requirements of providing basic education. So what I'm saying is that there are opportunities that are available that need to be seized and which have been seized in certain instances. And now I want to turn to the international example. I want to share with you, ये देखें एक टेबल है, इसमें there are, I don't know, about 13 countries. Remember I showed you the first table on big facts, that Pakistan has never been able to sustain growth over more than 3 years or 4 years. So these are countries that have had growth in their GDP, यानी उनकी आमदनी में इजाफा जो है उसकी रफ्तार 7% से ज़्यादा है for a sustained period of time. And I put the periods of time here as well. This does not cover some of the more recent examples, which I also shared with Ireland and Vietnam and so on and so forth. And so, what is it that was common about these countries? इन्होंने क्या चीजें की जो तकरीबन सब ने की? and I want to share those. So these are the 5 what the authors of this report called points of resemblance. जो चीज़ मुश्तरक है इन तमाम 13 ममालिक में जिन्होंने अपनी रफ्तार जो है आमदनी की अपने लोगों की बढ़ाई और उनको प्रॉस्पेरिटी दी. First, again, to go back to a point, okay, nobody has done it alone. All these 13 countries were integrated into the global economy. Number 1. Number 2, they had periods of macroeconomic stability. इसका मतलब क्या है कि इन्फ्लेशन ऊपर नीचे बहुत नहीं हो रही है, एक्सचेंज रेट ऊपर नीचे बहुत नहीं हो रही है, ग्रोथ ऊपर नीचे नहीं हो रही है, गवर्नमेंट्स हर 2 साल में बदल नहीं रही हैं. And so that the third is that they had high savings and investment rate, and this is something we can talk about. कि Pakistan has amongst the poorest level of investment rate in the world. यानी हमें बचाने का भी शौक नहीं है और वो बचा के उन पैसों को इन्वेस्ट करने का भी शौक नहीं है. यानी हम जो भी कमाते हैं उसको फौरी तौर पे कंज्यूम कर देते हैं. So we do not really build for our future generations. So these, and the fourth is, that they had a good market system. ये नहीं कि government cinema भी चला रही है, तो steel भी चला रही है, तो airline भी चला रही है. Because 70-80 countries tried to do that with their governments. And they sort of all failed. And they lost decades. So these are the things. Then I want to talk to you about another study that looked at the 50th anniversary of the World Bank. People sat together और उन्होंने कहा कि हमने क्या सीखा है. ये सारी जो 200 मुल्क चल रहे हैं, इनकी जो ग्रोथ हुई है, इनके पास जो प्रॉस्पेरिटी आई है, तो हमने क्या सीखा है उसमें से. And I'm trying to present to you the gist of that. And what they are saying again is that nobody can be prosperous if they do not export. देखिए ना, गरीब कौन है? गरीब वो है जिसके पास डॉलर्स नहीं है. The rest is just detail. And we can talk about lot of खुशहाल बनना है. You might say, नहीं आप तो जी इकोनॉमिस्ट हैं, आपको ऐसी टेक्निकल बात बताएं. तो टेक्निकल बात भी बता सकता हूँ, लेकिन या तो काम की बात सुने या टेक्निकल बात सुने. अच्छा, अब दूसरी चीज जो इन्होंने सीखी कि भाई कोई भी मुल्क जो है वो डेवलप नहीं हो सकता है अगर उनके लोग जो है डेवलप नहीं है. यानी आपको मैंने दिखाया कि 3 हार्बर है हमारे पास और सिंगापुर बेचारे के पास 1 हार्बर है. उनकी भी एयरलाइन है, हमारी भी एयरलाइन है, लेकिन उनका हार्बर भी दुनिया में नंबर 1 है, उनकी एयरलाइन भी नंबर 1 है. उनके पास तो कोई ये चीजें नहीं है ना जो मैंने दिखाई जो पाकिस्तान के पास है. लेकिन उनके पास एक चीज है, and that is the people of Japan and the people of Singapore. And I showed you the growth rate, and I showed you the big fact of Pakistan. So we have to zero in on this. You cannot become developed unless your people are developed, and you cannot sustain it. And the last thing is again the point I've already made. कि ultimately जो governments होती हैं, Prime Minister, President, ये सिर्फ कोच हैं. जब गेम शुरू होती है ना तो उस वक्त देखना ये कि मेसी कौन है, रोनाल्डो कौन है, किसी को पता नहीं है कि रियल मैड्रिड का कोच जो है, अनलेस कि आप बहुत ही फैनेटिक हैं, कौन है. Ultimately the game is how to score and it's the person running on the field that's going to score. And we will have to talk about that, because we keep talking about ministers and prime ministers, we waste our time, because ultimately scoring to business नहीं करनी है. Okay, I'll try to fast track. I'm seeing Maghrib का भी शायद time होने आ रहा है. So, this is another point. Political administration is also important. Abhi, I don't know how much time do we have for Maghrib?
टाइम हो गया. Yeah, it is.
I think we should take a break. I don't want to talk about Pakistan जब लोगों का ज़हन जो इस वक्त अपने
नमाज की तरफ.
सवाब कमाने के ऊपर है. तो I think if you allow me, I don't know, you guide me. Maybe 10 more minutes. If people cooperate, ना आपको पता है कि जब नमाज का वक्त होता है तो फिर
नमाज पढ़ लेता.
ब्रेक ले लें. नमाज है वो 105 की हो जाएगी. And these are some other numbers. For example, the exports, as I said, they are not really growing, and imports are growing, but in fact more than exports. And that's showing you the trade deficit, and of course we have remittances which have grown by a significant amount this year to $38 billion. I want to just quickly run through these numbers, and if there's any particular number that you want to discuss in the Q&A, like debt, for example, which is 76 trillion rupees, is the Pakistan's total debt. And we are looking at FBR taxes. They have also increased a bit in this year, so they are now 12 trillion. And the reserves, which are about 15, have become 20. Remittances, I already told you, exchange rate, interest rate. So these are some of the numbers that you hear about economists talking all the time. And if in the Q&A anybody wants to pose any question of any technical difficulty, I will be happy to answer it up to my capability, okay? Now let's go to the positives. As the year ends, because Pakistani fiscal year runs from July 1st to June 30th. So the 24-25 fiscal year has just ended. And these are the numbers that I have summarized from them. So what are the positives इस वक्त अगर हम पाकिस्तान को देखें तो पहली चीज ये है कि पाकिस्तानी economy is in a relatively stable position. What that means is that some of the alarm that was there, okay, we may not be able to pay our external debt, or maybe inflation will continue to be as high, or that some other dramatic development will take place that will force our credit ratings to go down or something like that. So we are now in a position which we can call is a relatively stable one, because our public finances are okay, the primary balance is in a surplus, and we have paid our external debts in a meaningful way, and inflation has begun to come down, the exchange rate has remained stable. Okay, so these are some of the positive things that have given us a type of stability. So that's the first point I'm making. The second is that the interest rate ये 22% तक पहुंच गया था. ये वो rate है जो Monetary Policy Committee तय करती है. It has come down, and why was it kept high? Because the inflation was high. To counter that, so now that inflation has been coming down, इसको भी 22 से तकरीबन 11% तक कम कर दिया गया है. So इंटरेस्ट रेट को कम होने में किस तरह फायदा होता है? इस तरह होता है कि जो बिजनेसेस हैं वो बोरो करती हैं पैसा टू सेट न्यू कंपनीज और एज वर्किंग कैपिटल टू रन देयर एग्जिस्टिंग कंपनीज. तो जितने पैसे की कीमत कम होगी बोरो करने की, उतनी वो ज़्यादा एक्टिविटी जनरेट कर सकते हैं. And that's why when you want the economy to grow, you try to have interest rate lower to facilitate the businessmen to borrow those monies. Similarly, इस मुल्क में जहाँ पे mortgages का इतना चर्चा रहता है, if the mortgage rate is down, people can borrow money to build their houses, which generates economic activity. So उसकी logic इसीलिए बनती है और इसके ऊपर इसीलिए focus रखा जाता है, right? So to the extent कि ये कम हुआ है, अभी तक it hasn't really kicked in a big way to generate economic growth, but the trend appears to be heading in the right direction. Inflation I already talked about कि कम हो गई है. Primary account is in surplus. I talked about there is some improvement in the ratings because rating companies जो हैं Moody's and Fitch and so on, they are neutral evaluators and they are not influenced by politics or by which country it is. They have slightly upgraded Pakistan's ratings. And I will continue with the positives. जिस तरह मैंने कहा, stable exchange rate है, non-tax revenue has increased by quite a bit, which is giving government some, leeway in managing their affairs. Remittances I already told you. और ये आखिरी जो 2 points हैं, I want to talk about them a little bit more, because इस पे हमेशा लोगों के सवाल भी होते हैं और उनके जहन में एक बात भी होती है कि ये IMF प्रोग्राम क्या है, ये क्यों है और इसकी क्या dimensions हैं और ये लोग क्या चाहते हैं कराना पाकिस्तान से. So I would take a little time to say why the IMF program being on track is a good positive thing, and people have different views on this. Some are influenced by their political or ideological thinking, others don't know the facts. तो this will be a good opportunity कि हम इस पे भी बात करें मज़ीद अगर Q&A है. And I want to then talk about the record performance of the stock market. ये लोगों को शायद पता नहीं है कि how well the stock market of Pakistan has done in the last 2 years. So I will first share with you a little more detail about the stock market and the IMF program, and then I'll switch to the negatives in the current situation. ये देखें पाकिस्तान की स्टॉक मार्केट की परफॉर्मेंस, राइट? और यहाँ कुछ काफी लोग पैसे वाले भी बैठे हैं. मैंने देखा कि सडनली वो इंटरेस्टेड हो गए इसमें presentation. Now look, in July 2023, the Karachi Stock Exchange का जो 100 index है was 42,000. और July 2025 में, I think these are in the July 20 है या 21 है, that same index has become 140,000. और यहाँ मैं दिखा रहा हूँ कि अगर आपने $1 million इन्वेस्ट किया होता कराची के स्टॉक मार्केट में 2 साल पहले, तो इस वक्त वो $3.3 million बन चुका होता. Okay, so a lot of rich people have made a lot of money in Pakistan in the last 2 years. And because the exchange rate has not fluctuated, so if you had put dollars, you would, even in dollars, would have made 2.3 million extra dollars on $1 million. And now look at the US New York Stock Exchange के साथ मैंने यहाँ compare किया है इसको, कि अगर आप $1 million New York Stock Exchange में if you had put, तो that you would have earned $0.3 million or $300,000. तो US के stock market में for the same comparable period you would have made $300,000, and in the Karachi Stock Exchange you would have made $2.3 million. In other words, you would have made 8 times more if you had invested your $1 million in Karachi. in relation to New York. Now, I'm not an advisor on, because I want to tell you how much money has been generated in terms of the higher valuation of the assets on the stock market. Okay? Now I want to switch to the IMF. ये क्या है IMF प्रोग्राम और हम इसे क्यों अडॉप्ट किए हुए हैं और इसकी क्या अहमियत है? You see, लोग कई बार ये समझते हैं कि IMF बना ही इसलिए है कि पाकिस्तान को तंग करें। दरअसल IMF is a global entity like the UN, like the World Bank, like the Asian Development Bank, which has been created by all the 200 countries of the world. And उसका mandate है और वो बना ही इसीलिए है कि कोई मेंबर कंट्री को अगर मैक्रो इकोनॉमिक दिक्कत है तो उसको उससे निकालने के लिए वो उनको पैसे दे. So that's the reason why we keep it. And the friends that we say कि जो हमारे friends जो हैं वो हमारी मदद करेंगे, they are not a substitute for the IMF. And why the IMF is important is that also the borrowing costs from the IMF are less than borrowing from the market. Also you have to realize कि जब आप IMF के साथ कोई अरेंजमेंट करते हैं तो दुनिया की जो मार्केट्स हैं उनको फिर तस्कीन होती है कि आप अपने आप को बिहेव करेंगे. That you will not act in a totally crazy way and that you will manage your economy, your public finances, your expenditures in a sensible way. And it makes it easier then for you to borrow from other sources like the World Bank, Asian Development Bank. अगर आप IMF के साथ प्रोग्राम नहीं हो तो वो शायद आपको पैसे भी. एक आपको राज की बात बता दूं कि रुपया इसीलिए गिरता है कि उसको चाहने वाले कम हैं और डॉलर इसीलिए बढ़ता है कि उसको चाहने वाले ज्यादा हैं. So when the economy is like this and people figure out, then it begins to become dollarized. And this is Pakistan's massive big fact जो मैंने शुरू में बताया. और मैंने big facts इसीलिए चुने कि आपको उस सिर्फ ले जाऊं डिस्कशन में कि आप खुद ही बता सकें कि क्या करना चाहिए. And now you know I told you about privatization. मैंने आपको दिखाया कितने सेक्टर्स और क्या ये मुमकिन है कि प्राइवेटाइजेशन हो, क्या हो सकती है. तो मैं जिस तरह इन्होंने मुझे इंट्रोड्यूस करते वक्त बताया कि जब मैं वजीर था प्राइवेटाइजेशन का तो उस 3 साल में 2003 से 2006 तक we privatized 34 companies worth $5 billion. और मुझे छोड़े हुए वो वजारत को 19 साल हो गए हैं और उस 19 साल में आपको पता है कितनी प्राइवेटाइजेशन हुई? 0. So these are choices that we can make, but if we do not privatize, they are costing us money. जब स्टील मिल की बात होती है फॉर एग्जाम्पल तो स्टील मिल दरअसल मिल है ही नहीं. इट्स अ बिग टाउन विच इज अ हाउसिंग कॉलोनी. तो उसमें कोई 15 साल से कोई प्रोडक्शन ही नहीं हुई है. तो लोग जो इमोशनल हो जाते हैं कि हमारी जो है इक्तिसादी कुवत जो है उसको कम किया जा रहा है. तो अगर वहां सिर्फ हजारों लोग रह रहे हैं उसके हाउसिंग में और उनमें से हजारों लोग तनख्वाहें ले रहे हैं तो अगर ये चौरानिया साहब के हॉस्पिटल हो और वहाँ पे हजारों लोग धक्का दे रहे हो और किसी एक कभी कोई मरीज वहां नहीं आया 10 साल में, तो ये कहेंगे कि भाई ये क्या क्या चक्कर चल रहा है। लेकिन यहाँ कोई पूछने वाला नहीं। So anyway, that's zero privatization success. More negatives. अब ये circular debt है, ये 4 ट्रिलियन हो चुका है। इस साल जो रिजल्ट्स आ रहे हैं, तो हमारी जो एग्रीकल्चर क्रॉप्स होती हैं, मेजर क्रॉप्स, उनमें wheat, sugar cane, rice, maize, cotton, किसी में भी कोई इंक्रीज नहीं आई है। So we have a situation where no major crop has witnessed any increase in production. So obviously that's alarming. और जो FDI का मैंने कहा कि जो बाहर से पैसे आते हैं आपकी इकोनॉमी में लगने के लिए, वो 250 मिलियन लोगों के मुल्क में $1.5 अरब से भी कम। Okay, let's try and and of course we had a recent conflict in the neighborhood as well, but that also affects people's opinions about it. So अब ये कि जी what needs to be done? What I am trying to do is कि I've just summarized these things, and in the Q&A we can talk more about it. Any one of you who was, if they were paying attention to the talk, they could figure out कि मैं क्या कहने जा रहा हूँ। मेरा मकसद ये था कि हम collectively एक ऐसी डायरेक्शन बनाएं डिस्कशन में कि हम खुद फिगर आउट कर लें कि अब हमें मजीद क्या करना है। इसीलिए मैंने नेगेटिव्स भी दिखाए, बिग फैक्ट्स भी दिखाए, दुनिया के जो सक्सेसफुल ममालिक हैं उन्होंने क्या किया वो भी दिखाया, so that we can collectively move towards what needs to be done. And point is very, very important, which is that we need to help the vulnerable people of Pakistan as we go through this transition. क्योंकि जो गरीब लोग हैं वो मजीद पीछे रहते जा रहे हैं, और इन्फ्लेशन जो है सबसे बड़ा टैक्स है गरीब लोगों पर। और पिछले 2 से 3 साल की कयामत खेज इन्फ्लेशन रही है, which has depleted people and their real incomes. And so as we go forward and try to, preserve stability, we don't want the burden of that to fall disproportionately on the weakest in our country. And that's why the role of the cash transfer program is good, and it has to be sustained and enhanced. क्योंकि सबसे जो बेहतर तरीका है गरीबों की मदद करने का वो ये है कि उनको कैश दें, और इस अंदाज में दें कि बीच में कोई उठा न सके। So I think, that's something that we as a country have done a reasonably good job, but we need to be doing it even more. अभी देखिए ये जो points मैंने लिखी हैं, इन पे during the discussion we can talk about. एक तो ये है कि unless all of us simultaneously do things, तो रास्ता नहीं निकल सकेगा। ये नहीं कि प्राइम मिनिस्टर कोई बैठा है। So this is a point I want to share with you here. कि जो पाकिस्तान की डिविजिबल पूल है, जो पैसे होते हैं अवेलेबल, उसका 57.5%, तकरीबन 60% जो है वो प्रोविंसेस के पास चला जाता है पहली तारीख को हर महीने की, और उसमें कभी कोताही नहीं हुई है। So that is a big chunk. The Punjab Chief Minister has more discretionary money than the Prime Minister. तो जब हम डिस्कस करेंगे जी पाकिस्तान का पता है क्या होना चाहिए, तो पाकिस्तान का पहले ये है कि पांचों गवर्नमेंट्स मस्ट परफॉर्म. And this is a dimension of the discussion that I wanted to leave with you. That's a big chunk of money, and I think we should be happy that they get it, but we should ensure that they spend it wisely. Okay, I think people were saying maybe I should pause now and have a Q&A because I have some slides on accountability. किसी ने कहा आपने corruption पे बात नहीं की, so that I can talk about. I have slides on Pakistan-US relations. I have a slide on CPEC, but I think I don't want to talk too much. So I would just pause now, and we can have a Q&A, and some of these things may come up, and we can begin. So there was a question.
All of you have done such a beautiful job. So much knowledge and in such an easy format. And all of you have done such a beautiful job listening to each and everything that he's saying and looking at the slides. So thank you for that. Now I have the two directors, Manaz and Afshin, and they will have the mic. And so if you could just raise your hand, let them know that you have a question.
However, he did indicate that he was willing to take difficult questions and directly from the floor. So I asked for two things. One is, do not make speeches. Keep your question to 30 seconds or less. We are not interested in knowing that you met the finance minister somewhere at some point. That's all irrelevant. Just ask the question directly, keep it very short, and hopefully you get good answers.
Okay, who is coordinating?
शेख साहब बहुत शुक्रिया आपका यहाँ आने का. जावेद अशरफ साहब ने हमें बहुत इंतजार कराया, कोई 2 साल से कह रहे हैं आप आ रहे हैं यहाँ पे. तो क्वेश्चन मेरा ये है कि आपने एक कमेंट दिया कि पूछने वाला कोई नहीं है यहाँ पे. तो अगर हमने नेगेटिव भी देखे हैं, पॉजिटिव भी देखे हैं, फिर कुछ रिकमेंडेशन भी हैं आपकी, तो वो पूछने वाला कौन है? इन द इंटरेस्ट ऑफ टाइम, आई मीन आई हैव लॉट ऑफ क्वेश्चन बट दिस इज द वन आई एम आस्किंग. और आपका भी एक पार्टी से या एक सूबे से करीबी तल्लुक रहा है, फिर आपने कहा सूबों को बिल्कुल कोई पूछने वाला नहीं है, तो काइंडली इस पे बताइए कि किस तरीके से उनकी अकाउंटेबिलिटी होगी. थैंक यू.
देखिए जी, my question कि कोई पूछने वाला नहीं है was in relation to a lot of the public sector companies. Second, I believe, मेरी अपनी thinking ये है कि हम कई बार आपस में बैठते हैं और डिस्कस करते हैं और एक उलझन में मुब्तला रहते हैं कि इसका हल जो है वो कैसे निकाला जाए. और that's a very important consideration जिसका मेरे पास कोई ऑटोमेटिक या आसान हल नहीं है कि मैं आपको बता दूं. क्योंकि पाकिस्तान की जो इंस्टीट्यूशनल अरेंजमेंट्स हैं, हमें तय करना है कि वो किन चीजों में एक तरह से रुकावट बन जाती है. बट जो लोग मुल्क चला रहे होते हैं और जो आप जैसे लोग किसी को राय या मशवरा दे रहे होते हैं, उनको ये सोचना है कि इंस्टीट्यूशनल अरेंजमेंट्स अगर दुरुस्त नहीं होंगी तो जो चीज आसानी से हो सकती है वो मुश्किल से हो. और इंस्टीट्यूशनल अरेंजमेंट्स बड़ा टर्म है जिसके अंदर आपकी जो लॉ की रिक्वायरमेंट कम लगता है, लेकिन दरअसल पाकिस्तानीज आर better off than the 1600 number gives. क्योंकि it's an economy with a lot of activities that are not captured by the GDP calculation. और उसी वजह से हमारी जो टैक्स कलेक्शन है उसमें भी दिक्कत है. Now, again, going back to taxes, जो एग्रीकल्चर का पूरा सेक्टर है पाकिस्तान का, उसकी टैक्स पे फेडरल गवर्नमेंट का कोई रोल नहीं है कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनली. और प्रोविंशियल गवर्नमेंट्स अगर नहीं करना चाहें एग्रीकल्चर टैक्स इंथ्यूजियास्टिकली कलेक्ट तो उनकी मर्जी है. एंड दे डोंट, the record shows that they are not very aggressive in tax collection in the entire agriculture sector. Similarly, अगर आप देखें तो politicians in general are quite sensitive कि वो urban areas के अंदर जो businesses हैं informal या semi formal या जो छोटे businessmen हैं जिनकी दुकानें हैं और ये they don't want to alienate them as a political constituency. और एक और consideration भी है कि आप same लोगों से किस हद तक कितना उनसे tax collect कर सकते हैं. So these are legitimate, considerations. But as technology is coming, that will facilitate it. And as governments come under more and more severe constraint, so this thing is beginning to happen. And this last year, as I showed you, there was a, reasonably good increase in taxes. Ji, sir.
Enlightening presentation. I'm not an economist, so pardon my question.
Yeah.
You mentioned that, or you showed that the stock market had a very phenomenal rise in 2 years.
Yes.
Yet the inflation came down from 20% to 5%. How do you correlate and explain that?
देखें जो स्टॉक मार्केट की जो राइज है, that is about people's expectations about future earnings of those companies, right? And you can quite naturally expect that the economy will do better in the future. It's also in some ways an indication of the absence of other good opportunities for investors. कि वो जो हैं सब स्टॉक मार्केट में सिर्फ पैसे कमाना चाहते हैं, और इन्फ्लेशन के जो डायनामिक्स हैं are not necessarily connected to the rise.
Pakistan. Just last week I read the news from the South Asian news that 800,000 youngsters are leaving country since 2021. So what's the position and what the government is doing or could do to retain that human capital? Thank you.
देखिए, first of all, let me share with you my own personal views on this. I think it's terrific if Pakistanis go anywhere in the whole wide world to make themselves better off.
Yes.
Okay. And we should in no way be alarmed by it because that's the nature of things. And I think they acquire tremendous set of new skills, they acquire the capacity to live better lives, and they acquire the resources to help their country, both with their enhanced skills as well as with the foreign exchange earnings. At the same time, if we provide the kind of impetus that I have been talking here, कि अगर हमारे पास कोई नहीं आ रहा है, कोई नई इन्वेस्टमेंट नहीं ला रहा है और हम खुद भी नहीं लगा रहे हैं, तो clearly they will search. Now I don't know कि 800,000 ज़्यादा हैं या कम हैं in a country of 250 million people. Maybe that should be normal. Maybe it should be even more. And provided that the other 249 million जो रह गए हैं, उनमें भी तो कुछ टैलेंट होना चाहिए ना. So I think what's more important is we should do both. Have our people be able to compete internationally and do a good job there, as well as to focus of the other 249.
नाजरीन, अब तक के लिए इतना ही। मिलते हैं अगले बुलेटिन में कुछ मजीद खबरों के साथ। देखते रहिए DCTV USA, DTV NN, हमारा OTT प्लेटफॉर्म DTV Flix, जहां आप 3000 से ज़ायद चैनल देख सकते हैं। So stay tuned and stay with us.
Neurological care is a pressing healthcare challenge in Pakistan. That's why Helping Hand USA is building Kind R, a world-class hospital with 130 plus clinics that is set to establish new standards for neurological care in Pakistan. As the first phase nears completion, anticipation is growing for the launch in the second half of 2025. Give zakat and sadaqah through Helping Hand USA today and join this historic endeavor to redefine future healthcare in Pakistan.